Thanks very much. Good afternoon. And it's a pleasure being able to present. We won't dwell on the disclaimer. I'm going to just deal with three issues in terms of Premier African Minerals today because we have a limited time. The one is the location, where we are located, and I think we're located in a very interesting country at the moment. It's been in the news. Everybody knows all about Zimbabwe and all the changes that are happening. I think it's exciting, and we're going to come back on that a little bit later. I'm then going to talk about our RHA tungsten project briefly, and I'm going to move on to the Zulu lithium and tantalum project. Coming back to Zimbabwe for a moment, it's worth noting that there has been a change to our board. It was announced, and that's the addition of Godfrey, who's joined the board. He's a Zimbabwean-based, very successful businessman, well known in the country, and well versed in the kind of business that we're involved in. And I think it's appropriate and a good time that we have made that change to our board. Moving on briefly to the RHA tungsten project. I've spoken many times about it, and I think RHA is fairly well known to most people. RHA originally went into production some 2.5 years ago. It went into production at a time when the price of wolframite had dropped dramatically. It was not possible to sustain the operations at that time, and there were a number of issues that we identified. We identified difficulty in properly understanding the grading of the mineralization. And we encountered difficulties in recovery, particularly where in the upper reaches of the pit there was weathering and there was a lot of fine material. Now, over the last 2 years, we have dramatically improved our understanding of the resource and how it works, of the mineralization and how it occurs. And we have also substantially changed the actual flow sheet. And the primary change with that was the introduction of X-ray-based sorting and upgrading. We put in an XRT, the X-ray-based sorter, and the results of this were dramatic. We were able to recover at a rate of 50 tons per hour through the sorter 95% of the contained mineralization in a 7% mass pull. The difference that makes when it comes to the actual gravity concentration circuit and recovery circuits is dramatic. At the same time, we embarked on an extensive bulk sampling, bulk test of our open pit. Now, that's ongoing at the moment. The results are just about in, and we have developed a much better understanding, as I said earlier, of the mineralization and the ability to process and recover from the open pit. Simultaneous with that, our underground development has continued, and at this time we are mining underground. Our initial target rate of 6,000 tons per month is attainable and is being attained. And over the next couple of weeks, we expect to move from a mix of development ore and some stoping into stoping only. Our target is to have RHA operating and cash flow positive before the end of this year. And at this point in time, that target remains realistic. I want to move on from RHA. I'm not going to spend too much time, but let me just mention, there's a fully operating plant, as you can see. It's all there. The whole operation is there. It works. We're mining. Fundamentals of the tungsten market have been discussed earlier today. I think that they're good at the moment. Moving on from this, I want to come on to the Zulu lithium project. And this is a project that we have been exploring for some time now. It's located between 70 and 80 kilometers outside of Bulawayo. It has a strike of 3.5 kilometers, as you can see. We declared a maiden resource recently, and that resource was based on possibly a third of the known strike length. It's a very small component of it. But it was important that we should identify that resource. At the same time, we have conducted metallurgical test work, and there are a couple of highlights I'm going to come back to on the test work just now, but let me just mention for the moment, and you can see it there, recoveries, 81.8% coming out of it. Now, that lithium recovery of 81.8 on the spodumene pegmatites, interestingly enough, had 6.5% of lithium contained in it. Now, that's a very good grade for spodumene. That was done out of metallurgical test work done by Anzaplan, Dorfner Anzaplan in Germany. We have a very large exploration target, and subsequently we have increased the size of this exploration target. We are waiting for assay results to come in. We expect to upgrade the resource at Zulu in the pretty near future. We then conducted a scoping study. We felt it was important to establish and understand that Zulu was a viable proposition, viable potential mine. The principal results of the scoping study are set out there for you. We looked at a concentrate sales option, and we looked at a lithium carbonate plant option. The NPVs are compelling, but even more so are the internal rates of return that we're achieving, and the fact that on the concentrate option, as an example, we would expect a payback in approximately 2 years, and that is based on a peak funding requirement of $38 million. Now, I understand that it's at scoping study level, but they're pretty compelling numbers. When one gets onto the carbonate plant, it's even better than that. An outline of the location and geology, the mineral resource estimate, all of this is available off our website. I just want to move on to cover a couple of things on the metallurgical test work that is set up there. I did say to you 81.8% spodumene pegmatite recovery achieved out of the spodumene pegmatite. Flotation test work on the mixed pegmatite material, that's spodumene and petalite. In that situation, approximately 78% of the pegmatite is spodumene. The petalite component is much lower, and the recoveries are as you see them there. Interesting, very low deleterious material, very low iron content, making that petalite attractive in the industrial markets as much as for any other purpose. The details of the scoping study are set out. The left-hand side, the concentrate sales option. You can see the pretty compelling numbers on that, and lithium carbonate plant on the right. I think the NPVs speak for themselves. I just want to go back into Zimbabwe, the location that we're in at the moment. And I want to mention that this particular project, the Zulu Lithium project, at the moment is held 100% by Premier African Minerals. In the African, in fact, in the world context, you need to share with locals, with governments, with whoever you need to share with, to achieve an environment in which you can operate. So there's going to be a negotiation. But we have a very different situation in Zimbabwe today. We have a change in government which occurred peacefully, strange for African situations, and relatively easily, and a promise of a new beginning and a real care and concern. We're excited to be in Zimbabwe. We think these projects are going to do very well in that environment. Thank you.